Well, our moms think we're funny.
Hi, I'm Acomi.
Hey everybody, this is Turk182.
Welcome back to Our Moms Think We're Funny.
No so.
What?
No so.
Oh, so.
Yeah, it's because you called me out off camera.
Oh, yeah.
I said off microphone.
No, that was totally on microphone.
About how I just screw up the name of our own podcast. Like, every time you say you see something different.
That's true, yeah.
So our moms sometimes think we might be funny on occasion.
Possibly.
I'm gonna make it so that I use every letter in the alphabet to describe that.
Welcome to And Our Moms Think We're Funny. Welcome back to But Our Moms Think We're Funny. Could our moms think we're funny? Do our moms think we're funny?
Your mom does, but my mom doesn't.
Hold on, I gotta get my phone for a stopwatch. I meant to do this before we started recording.
Yes.
Because that's me, the embodiment of professionalism.
Oh yeah, that's what I remember when I first met you. I was like, that guy looks so freaking professional. I'm like, holy shit, how can I ever be as professional as that guy?
Yeah, everybody thinks that, but I'm really not that intimidating of a person.
And I was like, I hope that professional guy comes over there and shows me his artwork.
Fuck you, dude.
Oh gee, I'm sorry. I didn't know I couldn't make fun of you for completely just like, disrespecting me the first time we ever met. It's like I want the guy that draws Blunt Man and Chronic to sign it.
It's because you always introduce yourself as just a writer rather than a writer.
I'm an artist with letters. There you go. So you an artist? I am with letters.
There you go. Alright, so, you want to bring this in since this was your prompt, Turk?
Yeah, I guess I can. So I had a question, and I said, okay, so, you can travel back in time, or so you have the ability to travel backwards in time, right? Only 3 times. You can travel backwards, like up to 3 times. Only travel backwards.
Okay.
Where do you go? Like, what time periods do you go to, or dates do you go to?
All right, and it's worth pointing out, you said that there's no going forward.
Right.
There's no point where you can go forward, so it's not like I can go back to 1982 and then up to 1990.
Right. So if you go backwards in time, you don't go back and then come back to the present day and then go back again.
Right.
You go consecutively back in time.
And it always has to be the past relative to where you are.
Right. Now,
Okay.
I will say, I'm going to leave it open to you, depending on how you need this to work for you.
Okay, because I was going to be asking some questions here.
I'll say whether or not your actions your actions in the past will alter the future.
Okay.
Or if your actions in the past are just going to create an alternate timeline.
Alternate timeline. See, ultimately, since my personal goal here is by and large going to be to affect me, for the most part.
Selfish.
Yeah, totally. That I don't suppose it really matters because, like, basically I would equate what you're saying there to you've either got Back to the Future rules where, oh yeah, I can take a sports almanac back and build my fortune that way.
Oh, slow down there, Ant-Man.
You telling me Back to the Future's a bunch of bullshit? Or you're looking at in-game rules where no matter what you do, it splits off into a different timeline. And you've got like that string theory stuff going on. But
which I'll just say, I think that's kind of interesting with the Marvel Universe, how they treat time travel, where you've got these people that go back into the past to change things like Cable and Bishop and stuff like that, and then they go back to their present. And they're like, nothing changed. It's like, but they constantly keep doing it. And it's like, only thing you're doing is just making shit worse for everybody else because you keep creating all these like alternate universes, but never change your own. But you would just think that, okay, well, then I just won't go back to my universe. I'll just go to one of these alternate universes.
yeah, totally.
Like and because in a sense, I still save the people. I just had to like killed the people to save the people.
Yeah, then you just kind of get into like the Rick and Morty logic of like, yeah, we're just going to abandon this universe. We'll go to a different timeline where things aren't fucked up.
Oh, that would be so funny if like you had like an X-Men comic. It was like Cable and Cyclops, but they were like Rick and Morty. And like
Oh,
Cable,
yeah.
Cable was just a drunk. Come on, Dad, we're gonna go back into the past and we're gonna kill Apocalypse. I don't know, Nathan. Maybe we shouldn't do it. It'll be fun, Cyclops. Come on.
What's the matter? You gonna be a little pussy? Little pussy bitch? Is that it? I knew it. Gene was right about you.
I don't remember letting you get infected with techno-organic virus and just send you off into the future. Yeah, I wouldn't be that kind of a dad. Okay.
Ooh la la, somebody's getting late at Professor X's school for the gifted.
Well, you know, like way back in the early Claremont issues, like Storm would like walk around naked like most of the time because she would like go skinny dipping and stuff. It was always kind of cool in the old Claremonts. If you the X Mansion at that time, she lived in what was basically the attic, and she had like a big like open skylight so she could fly in and out. Yeah. And like the opening, like that part was just filled with like plants and stuff. And you know, she would just summon like a little bit of a rainstorm to come in there and like water the plants, or she would like, you know, go out through there and go into the pool and go skinny dipping. It was like regular for her because that was her character and stuff. And then they just kind of moved away from all that, which you know, it was like a big thing, but it was, you know, it was that kind of like that character building, you know, that Claremont did that you've lost a lot of, you know. Anyway, this isn't about X-Men, right, but just, you know, just touching on that.
So my only other question with this is, can I take stuff back with me when I travel back?
Well, I mean, you can't like pack bags, but but like if you want to take like a newspaper or like I don't know, maybe a encyclopedia, or you know,
well, I'm thinking like
Farmer's Almanac.
Like for the first trip back, I wouldn't want to like pack a bag, but this whole thing is about like gathering resources for me.
Okay.
From the direction I'm thinking of it, so that could complicate things. Because here's what I was thinking, and I guess like you can tell me if you think this is not feasible, based off of how you're viewing this. But for my first jump, I want to go back to like 2009, 2010. Okay. Not far, but just enough to invest in Bitcoin. Because when Bitcoin first dropped, and that sounds really stupid, but this kind of builds up to like my next two jumps.
Okay.
But like when Bitcoin first dropped, you were looking at like what, 1/3 of a cent for a coin, something like that.
I don't. But I know when it came out, I was like, "What the hell is this?" It's Bitcoin. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
it was extremely undervalued, and it's kind of like petered off. It's kind of like plateaued for several years now. But there was this window of time around.
But it's not real money though. Right? I mean, it's just another version of like stocks, really.
Nah, you can cash in.
Well,
like
you can, but it's like electronic currency.
Oh yeah,
I'm spending real money to buy electronic currency that may not even be worth what I spent on it, depending on when I decide to use it.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm not interested in investing in Bitcoin now. I want to invest in Bitcoin when I know it's going to spike in value. Because around 2016, 2017, it hit a point where it was multi-thousands of dollars per coin. I think the highest I ever saw it at was like at 3,000, and I think it got even higher than that when I just stopped watching it.
You know what? Sorry to derail here, but you know what I think would be interesting? And I wonder if we could do it without it becoming like a slavery thing. But I wonder if if you could like buy stock in people. So okay, so
the government does.
Well, okay, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But so let's say somebody has a kid or whatever, or let's say they look at a 10-year-old. This kid looks like he's like, you know, got a bright future, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest like, you know, $1,000 in this kid. Okay. And so I'm buying, say, 1,000, or depending on how much the whatever this kid's going for a share, right? But I'm gonna buy, let's say, I'm gonna buy 100 shares worth of this kid. Okay. And as this kid grows up, right, and we look at his progress as he grows up, and then his value, as far as like, okay, he's become a very successful guy, so his value basically of his life is worth this. And then I can buy and sell my shares of him. I'm not really buying anything of him, But it's just like a stock market, right? It's this guy, this person's worth, their individual worth. So the more successful they are, the more they do, the more like valuable per se that they are. And you can basically buy and sell shares of a person just based upon like their individual success.
How would you get a return on that though?
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. You just look at them and say, hey, let's look at this person's maybe their net worth.
Okay. That'd be interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, basically all I want to do with that first trip is just basically build funds for the next 2 jumps back, right? So, you know, over the span from like 2010 to 2017, 2018, whenever Bitcoins really hit their peak, I'm just going to be like slowly acquiring Bitcoin, right? And when they hit that peak, hit that highest point of sale, I'll cash out. Sell all the Bitcoins, convert it to gold. Because gold has a universal value no matter how far back you travel.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, second jump, this is where it all gets totally selfish, right?
Okay, so now, as you're going back in time, right, you do realize that you're not inhabiting your younger body.
Yeah, I know, I'm aging this entire time.
So there's going to be 2 Acomis walking around.
Yeah. Well,
So-
fuck that guy.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go back at that time and basically live your life again, just buying Bitcoin until you get to this particular point. Then you're going to cash it out,
Right.
And then
And then travel further back. Just pretty much abandon past me at that point. And see, I've thought about that. Like, would I want to interact with my past self? I don't know. I mean, there's certain, like, warnings I guess I would give myself, but I don't know. But no, at this point, I'm thinking travel back to, because, like, let's see, what? If I jump back to 2010, 2009, 2010, and I stick around for, say, another 10 years, then I'll be 40 when I jump back. So, we'll get back to, like, say, 1976, something like that, you know, mid-70s.
okay.
So
Disco and free love. Oh man, and cocaine everywhere.
So, you know, the economy is healthier than it is now, at least. Let's say...
I don't know. Remember in the 70s you had that gas shortage.
yeah, that's true. So I might want to avoid that. I mean, the primary thing is just, like, making the most out of the 80s, because that's a decade I'm really interested in. And it's
Reaganomics and a trickle-down theory. That's fantastic.
It's also just having enough money to fund the art thing, because, you know, what I really want to do with my life is do my art full-time.
Okay, so I want to put this in perspective. 2010, you're going to go back,
Right.
And you're going to start buying Bitcoin,
Right.
And you're gonna buy that up until we get to 2017,
Around there, yeah.
and
I can't remember when it was at its
Then you're
peak.
going to sell, and you're going to jump back to the 70s
Yeah.
or 76, you said.
Around there, just like mid to late 70s.
Okay, and you're gonna. I guess you're gonna get into the big stock boom, I guess, of the 80s, right? Is that what you're gonna plan on investing in from there?
No, at that point, I'm planning on going back with, you know, a few million in resources here.
Okay.
In gold, and pretty much just using that to fund whatever I need to with my art. Like I said, at this point, I'm just cashing out and basically retiring at this point just to focus on my art.
Right, because in the 70s you had the early start, but you had when the independent comics market was really starting to rise up.
Bingo.
Okay, pretty
So
sneaky,
at this
sis.
point, I'm able to fund my comic projects, and I'm going to be able to sneak in on the sweet spot with, like, when the Ninja Turtles were popular, you had the black and white boom. You had that moment of if you had an indie comic, it was going to be successful. So throughout the late 70s, early 90s, throughout that span of time, basically, you do a black and white indie comic, you're going to be moderately successful at least. And if you can sell film rights, then you're even better off.
And of course, at that time, then you're going to be able to basically get in good with people like Picard and Kurtzman and
Yep.
like Dave Stevens and, you know, all those people that were, you know, start off in that time period and
Yep.
really kind of grew on to be, you know, yeah, even Jim Valentino.
Mm-hmm. And I can make in good with Dave Sim with his self-publishing boom. I can,
Oh crap.
I can catch Jeff Smith at his early beginnings of his career.
Oh, yeah, you can team up with Neil Adams. You know, like fighting for creator rights.
Yeah, that would be a thought. That was right around the same time that Scott McCloud wrote the Creators Bill of Rights with all the indie guys too. So, I mean, it would like I said, this is primarily selfish motivation, but it would basically be like I'm funding to live out the career in the industry that I want at the time in history that I want.
Now, don't forget though your age though.
So I'd be 40 going back there, running through, like, let's say the late 70s through. I'd probably want to be out by the mid 90s because the industry had that big slump around then.
Well, yeah, you'd be hitting 60, about 60 years old then.
Yeah.
Now, on the plus side of it, around that time, and I think this is one of the things I didn't do any research, but I remember being, aware of comics and that kind of, what was going on in the industry at that time where, before I had no idea just comic books came out, was that you had a lot of the independent market. So you had, like, of course, you had Diamond Comics distributors, and they were doing a lot of the exclusive contracts where we're going to like distribute your work. So Marvel was doing their own distribution, so they didn't go work through Diamond. DC did, but then there was another, I can't remember the other like a comic book distributor was at that time. But you had multiples that these people, you order like independent books through them.
Yep.
And then of course you had places like Kitchen Sink that were always, you would just go, just go to that website with you.
Solson, that was when slave labor graphics was still pretty viable.
Labor?
Yeah, they were the guys who did Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
And slave labor, didn't they also do Brat Pack?
I think so.
Yeah.
No. Brat Pack was Rick Veitch did that through his own imprint, right?
King Hell, but I thought that was through slave labor initially.
It might have been.
I could be wrong.
It's been too long.
I don't feel like going over there and picking up the book because I'm lazy like that.
So, and before I do my last jump, my last project, I'd say I'd probably spend like my last maybe 10 years would just be one final graphic novel project that is going to kind of lay out and predict a lot of what happens in the future. Just so that...
Oh, so you're going to Tupac things.
Pretty much, yeah. Just so that people are like, okay, so here's this guy who just kind of showed up in like when he's middle-aged in the 70s, and now nobody knows what happened to him. He just kind of faded out of the industry, but he dropped this, this 500-page graphic novel that's been like fucking scarily accurate. Just to give people something to talk about. And here's where I'm going to start fucking up the timeline with my final jump, because by the time I'm ready for my final jump, I'm going to be, in my early 70s, maybe mid-70s. I'm going to be kind of old. But I'll have lived a pretty good life, I think. I'll have lived the life I, always wanted to live, got to experience the industry I wanted to experience, and not really had to worry too much about the financial end of things. So whatever gold I have left, any of that stuff, it's just going to be time to, play fast and loose with history and with the timeline, because, I'm going to be dead soon anyway. So I'm just going to jump back to the 1770s.
The 1770s?
Mm-hmm. So, first things first, I want to be there during the Boston Tea Party. So I'm gonna try to be pretty brief with this last little bit here.
No, well, so real quick, how are you going to transfer your assets?
Gold. keep converting everything to gold.
So as much money as you're going to have, how are you going to take that gold back into the past with you? That'd be quite a big. You're talking about being a millionaire. And don't forget, I think the purity of the gold too might be different.
It might be. So transporting that stuff would be the biggest thing, but I also wouldn't have to take back as much into the 1770s. You can get a lot further with a lot less at that point.
So what would you do with it, with your extra assets and money that you couldn't take back, that you didn't need?
I don't know.
There's always the United Negro College Fund.
Sure, why not?
Sorry,
I don't know. I mean,
I drop a Mr. Deeds quote in there.
I could always just make some kind of ARG or something like that, and just set up a big fat treasure hunt for people. But
because you do like that was it the remake of It's a Mad World, Rat Race.
Oh yeah. So yeah, at that point I'm gonna take back as much as I need, but if I'm mid-70s, I'm not gonna be alive for too much longer anyway. I can hope that I'll make it to my mid-80s, and I would hope that I would have taken pretty good care of myself, during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And but yeah, first things first, I want to make myself a presence during the Boston Tea Party, because the whole, and this is where the anarchy thing comes in. This is where I start speaking as an anarchist rather than just a purely selfish, I want to benefit me with my jumps. So, you know, the big outcry during the Boston Tea Party was taxation, no taxation without representation.
Mm-hmm.
That was their big thing. I want to be that person standing up and being the voice that's saying, no, all taxation is theft. Just start planting those seeds with people. That there's no point where taxes are being taken from you that it's not, okay, well, this is money that belongs to you that is being taken against your will, and if you don't give it, then you're going to be, you know, caged up at gunpoint, basically. So I basically want to have the opportunity during the formative years of the country to start just planting seeds. I'm not saying I'm going to, you know, change anything. I'm not saying that I would be able to keep the government from forming or anything like that, and I don't think that's realistic or feasible or even like a healthy way to form anarchy. I'm saying that I want there to be enough people to start hearing things like, oh, A, B, and C is not an acceptable thing to happen.
Okay.
And lost my train of thought. Yeah, so then, like, with what years I have left, and this will be right around the sweet spot of when the Constitution was written, because that was
76?
1776
No, that
was
was
the
the
Declaration of
Independence.
Independence. Constitution was 1786, I think? 87? 1787? Something around that time period. Yeah, 1787.
Out of all the things that we've learned in school or whatever, like, you know, always like, what date was the Magna Carta signed? You know, that has never come up in anything. Like, I was in a job interview and they're like, so we have another question for you.
Right.
So we know about your experience. Tell me about a time when, which I fucking hate those questions. And then it's when was the Magna Carta signed? So tell me your thoughts about Charlemagne. I'm like, what? I'm getting to a point of I don't think I've ever had to know or was ever learn like when was the Declaration of Independence
signed.
Signed.
It's like at the end of the day, you know, how much does the specific date matter? But yeah, no, I mean, basically, you know, what few years I have left, and, you know, travel and all that shit's going to be a challenge at this point and at my age, but I want to be able to, like, do some public speaking, write some pamphlets and stuff. You know, if I have enough gold and enough resources at that point, maybe, like, set up a printing press, distribute some literature. Again, I'm not trying to say, oh, I'll make sure America's an anarchist state by the time I'm dead. No, I'm just saying I want there to be enough seeds planted for, like, when those moments come of saying, okay, well, you know, yes, we've been collecting taxes, but now we're going to start collecting personal property taxes. Or now we're going to start collecting income taxes. I want there to be that point where people say, well, wait a minute. Why should we lay down and take this?
Okay.
And again, that's something that doesn't necessarily benefit me, but it's enough to really say, well, you know, history would definitely be different, and it couldn't be worse than what we're currently in right now. So
I like the part where you free the slaves. That part's awesome. Oh wait, no, you didn't do that, did you?
Well, that's the thing
Uh-huh.
That's the thing with anarchy in general, is that especially if you're promoting, like, anarchy proper. And by that I mean, you know, people look at anarchy and they often think of, you know, V for Vendetta or Fight Club. And it's like, well, that's, you know, that's a branch of anarchy, but that's not, like, anarchy proper. That's just chaos. Anarchy proper is the whole mutual support thing, where everybody's freedom and what they can contribute to their community is considered to have a very important value. And because of that, you're also looking at human life having an inherent value. So I think that would lay out the groundwork for people to look at slavery and go, this is not okay.
And then to make sure that you got the slaves in on it, you would, like, pass out leaflets to plantations or something. But,
well,
like...
they weren't allowed to read. No, I'm saying, you know, in like the 1700s, you're hitting this point where
you get mail now, ninja. You ain't even supposed to read.
You know, I'm saying, like, you know, you hit this point where, you know, the whole premise of proper anarchy, of, like, logical, actual functional anarchy, is that no human has a right to rule over another human. That's, like, the principal argument behind it. So when you're laying out that groundwork, then if assuming that you're doing a good enough job of planting those seeds and spreading out that teaching and that belief system, there's going to be plenty of people who are saying, well, no, nobody has a right to rule over another person. That would have to include slavery. So
you don't have. Are there people that believe in anarchy? Do they have kids?
I'm sure some of them do. I'm sure as hell don't.
I'm asking because I just get, if that's your philosophy, right? Once your kids get to a certain age, be like, Junior, go clean your room. You don't have the right to be like, shit. Damn, he caught me in that legal mumbo jumbo.
I guess the anarchist argument for that would be that, like, that's not establishing a law. That's just, that's just training them to not be animals. So, yeah, so, like, the last thing, it's like, okay, so that, my plans for that may or may not work, but it's just kind of a Hail Mary pass of, let's throw it through the wall and see if it sticks. But at that point, I'll have lived the life I wanted to live anyway.
Okay.
So, there you go. So that's what I would do with my 3 jumps.
All right. That's not bad. So I've actually got some questions about your jumps. And just to kind of, I've interrupted you throughout the whole thing, but I've got some other questions. But before we go into that, let's go ahead and
we'll put in a pause for a sponsor.
Yes, right. Wait, ad break. I didn't want to use the term ad break because, like, on other podcasts I listen to, I always say, "Hey, all right."
Okay, and we're back.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
It's still me, Turk182.
And this is Turd Ferguson. I like it. It's a funny name.
Yeah, you gotta chew the gum too. That's not my name anymore.
Right, so we're talking about time travel and shit.
All right, so we still have the present day Acomi.
Right.
When you go back to 1770, and for some reason when you said you were going to go back to that, only thing I could think of was Acomi. He died of dysentery.
That's possible too. That's totally possible.
Are you going to, and you're going to set up a printing press and all that kind of stuff, are you
Possibly.
going to do any little things to tie into your future, like, writing and publishing endeavors, to be like, to like make people of the future, your past, present, future, God, that's confusing. Right, to be able to look and be like, wait a minute, it's like this guy, like he drew pictures of these, like, Ninja Turtles before before they existed.
I could see doing that. I could see just, like, essentially, like, releasing a Bible of, like, popular animated characters or something. That would be what I would do. Like, once I planted my seeds of anarchy, I would, like, write one last document that kind of created, like, made the animation industry as a religious thing, and bury that in a cave somewhere.
So basically, you're going to create the first Church of Deviant Art.
Yeah, totally. In the house of Sonichu, when the moon is in its 3rd phase.
Yeah. So it's
Your werewolf husband will wag his tail happily.
That's awesome. So, as we say, panel to panel, till the ink runs dry.
I'll single-handedly destroy the art industry by saying, if anybody dares criticize thee, remember it is thine art style. And if any man shall say to you, why dost thou draw not eyes proper? Just say, it is mine art style.
Oh, so okay. All right, so I have a question. So your first jump, you go back to 2010.
Yeah.
Now, once you've made your money in 2017, and you're going to make your second jump to the mid 70s.
Right.
Are you going to hedge your bet, and for your second present Acomi, give them some money, like to kind of establish them and say, okay, I'm going to go back in time, right? I've made this money. I'm going to give you some money here, So because that person is still going to continue on
Yeah.
to make sure they have a decent life, just in case maybe things don't work out as well for you, and then you can still say, okay, this person can still, this Acomi can still live a good life.
I would say I could see doing that,
or at least have the capability of it. Now, whether they do it right, but they at least is like, I gave you the tools.
Yeah, I could see that if I could have like a week with my past self, just saying, here's what you need to know in order to survive. Here's shit you're gonna wish you knew in another 10 years, and here's the groundwork that you need because A, B, and C is going to happen. I could see that.
Now, you're going to do that in 2010? You're going to do that in 2017?
Probably on the closer end of 2010, but then I also wouldn't have the money to give myself at that point, so I guess I'd have to have 2 visits with myself. 2010 was a very big sweet spot of like certain career decisions and certain personal decisions that I wish I'd made differently, so I would love to be able to warn myself against those. But 2017 would be a point where I think the money would have been handled a bit more responsibly and a bit more appreciated. So, and especially being able to say, hey, here's what's going to happen over the next 2 years. You're going to fucking want this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say I'd have to have like 2 visits with my past self if I were going to do that.
Okay.
And then I would like high five myself and just like end the universe. Oh fuck, we're merging!
It's you on you, bro. It's not gay.
Okay, and here's some websites you're gonna want to check out too.
I'm just gonna tell you right now. It's like one word: Pornhub. Just don't have to visit it. Just like they're gonna need money. They're gonna need a sponsor. Just ad revenue.
See, I guess that's another thought. I guess I could like jump back a little bit further and invest in Amazon instead of Bitcoin or something like that. But then like that's more of a long-term thing. I'm looking for like fast money to fund my exorbitant lifestyle in the 70s and 80s. And then I'll be living in a solid gold mansion and getting champagne and caviar enemas 3 times a day. It'd be great.
Oh man. Champagne enema.
Yeah, I don't really want to think about it that much. Just kind of said it in the heat of the moment, and now it sounds really disturbing when you say it out loud.
No, I'm just trying to think, like, how would... I don't know.
I think I'm more concerned about the logistics of a caviar enema, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. Right. Because, one of the things that they ask you when you go to the doctor and you're not feeling good, they'd be like, have you seen, like, a black, like, tarry substance in your stool? Well, yeah, but I've been shitting out fish eggs for the past 3 weeks.
Just remember, Meg Ryan says caviar's a garnish, so...
Well, you could have a, like a cold coffee enema. So there was there was some singer or whatever, and I remember reading something that Janet Jackson started doing that. I don't know if she still does. I don't know if she just said that just because, but yeah, like instead of drinking coffee in the morning, it was like a cold coffee enema, just like wakes you up.
I'm just gonna say hell no to that because part of the pleasure of coffee is drinking it.
I'm just saying, coffee already kind of like runs through me and can give me the shit. So I mean, just sticking it directly there,
just eliminate the middleman. It's like, you're gonna go that far, just dump it straight in the toilet,
right? But yeah, I'm not really a fan of just every morning just shoving something up my ass. Because plus, I mean, I'm already sometimes like just pushing the line getting to work. If I had to like get up every morning and give myself an enema, just no.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of that.
I fail to see the appeal myself, But yeah, so how about it, Turk? What would you do with your 3 jumps?
With my 3 jumps.
Yeah, because I had some time to think about this, and you said you really didn't do much prep on this yourself.
No, I did not. So I did think about it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make 3 jumps, and mine are going to affect my future. So whatever I do in the past is going to affect my future. I think yours is disassociated from your future. So whatever you do in the past is not going to change necessarily your future, or I guess the you're kind of more of doing like a branch timeline, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's branch or whether it's affecting my real future, you know?
Well, because when you go back to do certain things, so let's say when you go back to and you start doing your own books in the late 70s and you start interacting with these people, that's going to introduce books in a market that didn't exist before.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and of course it's going to change things, and then you have people that are like, oh, I didn't read this book, so I was big into this independent book right here, and then next thing you know, like, we don't have like a like Spawn or something. I don't know.
Oh, darn.
I know. I was really upset by that. So I'm actually going to get started on your time machine right away. I really need this to happen.
Rob Liefeld, no. You have to draw for Marvel. Please.
Yes. And I'm going to write this how-to book just for you.
I'll be that grizzled pro at the con that he, like, goes to show his portfolio to when he's 15. It's like, I'm thinking about taking this to Marvel next year. It's like, oh, fuck you, kid. What the hell is this shit? Get out of here. Never come back. Here, Sam, you changing the future for the good. I'm not being purely selfish here.
And I really don't have anything against Spawn. I don't really care for the book, but I don't have anything against it. I wouldn't want to, like, wipe it from existence. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah, no, I like it.
So mine is actually going to directly influence, my future, present. But I thought about, okay, where would I want to go in the past? And there are a lot of places I'd want to go and, like, visit. I like to go visit this time in the past. Like, for example, I haven't done any research, because when you start to do research on certain things, you really get deep into it, and it can kind of consume you. Especially, if you have a very strong interest in it and you start to learn more about it, then that will then just start to grow, becomes a beast of its own.
Kind of like my fixation on Christian.
You're right. I can see you, like, just stalking outside of him, just not like interacting with him, but where he's going to be in certain places. So we're like, just going to hang out at the mall and just look for that guy with the sign. But I'd love to like find out what happened to the lost, like, colony of Roanoke. Right?
Yeah.
That's something that I've always been curious about.
I've actually wanted to do an entire podcast on that.
That's something I just, like, and I know there's been a couple of theories, and they've talked about this and that, and some people's like, well, this is what happened, but that's something I'm really curious about. The Salem witchcraft trials, like, going back before the trials, and just kind of like seeing, like, like, just watching that whole mass hysteria thing, especially.
I already have enough of a lack of faith in humanity.
But the whole, I guess, like, we're kind of watching that from a distance.
Yeah. When
you have these people who are like the priest or clergy, I'm not sure what they called themselves back then.
Yeah, they were Protestant, so I don't think they considered themselves priests, unless they were Anglican.
Reverends, ministers, whatever.
Yeah, it would be reverend, I think.
I really don't understand why you have to have a different title. You all do the same job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like whether I fly a plane or I steer a boat, I'm still the captain, right? Look at me. So, but you're like, no. I'm a captain, and I'm a piloteer. I mean, like, I'm
the skipper. Hey there, little buddy.
But they knew when they were doing, like, their witchcraft test or whatever, be like, hey, I'm gonna stick my finger in your ass, and if you feel that, then that means you're a witch. Because they would do stuff like, I'm gonna prick you, like, you with this like this mole on your body with this pin. If you feel it, then if you don't feel it, then you're a witch. Whatever. Right. It's like, but then they wouldn't actually, like, poke them with anything. Did you feel that? Be like, no, you're a witch. You'd be like, oh, okay, you're full of shit. Yeah. So you obviously aren't really conducting any real trials, but you're going on with this whole thing and watching people get killed and all this kind of stuff, because I'm like, so just, like I said, that whole mass hysteria, just watching that from the outside and just be like, how are you guys getting swept up in this?
That'd be interesting. My concern with doing something like that would be, exactly how far from the outside can you be? Because it's going to hit this point where, like, what if they target you?
Oh, they wouldn't. Because all I have to do is just show them some of my future shit,
And then they'll be sure that you're a witch.
Yeah, but can you stop me?
Oh, what are you gonna bring back an
I
AK-47?
don't have to. I mean, all I have to do is have something like like Back to the Future. I'll just play a little Van Halen on my Zune and just freak them out.
Yeah, and then they would just stone you to death, and that would be it.
Well, but I mean, okay. First off, I'm pretty sure I can kick their asses. I'm
That's
pretty
true,
sure I can
right?
kick their asses.
I think the average lifespan back then was like 32, so I think you'd be okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, because, these are people that want, if they can fight, right, which I doubt they can, but if they can fight, they fight like, they take a fighting stance like the leprechaun from, like, the Notre Dame, like, fighting Irish thing. It's like, put them up, put them up!
Oh, man, that's actually a really brutal method of boxing. I wouldn't...
But I'm just saying, all I got to do is, it's not like I'm freaking, Jean-Claude Van Damme, but all I have to do is just assume a martial arts stance, do a bunch of, really bad kicks, right? And they're gonna back the fuck up.
Yeah, you'd probably be fine. I think you could, bluff your way out of most bad situations there.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't really have to have anything, for example, my Zune with an external speaker, right?
Yeah.
Just blasting, some death metal. Dude, that would just freak them out.
Get a little bit of Cannibal Corpse going on there.
Yeah. This helped me through some rough times in my life.
Well, it's Cradle of Filth.
But it's I always wanted to go back in time and show somebody like the scene from Independence Day of the White House being blown up. It's like, this is a recording of my future. We have to stop this.
Yeah, you ever stop to think that I don't know, maybe the big second Ice Age scare from the 70s or whatever was due to some prankster going back from the future and doing that shit?
They had that thing for these little segments in an old Robot Chicken called Dicks with Time Machines. They just go back and just do just means things. But so I thought about going back to different places, but if I can only go backwards, I don't want to go too far because then I can only go backwards. Yeah. Unless I'm going to live a little bit like you do and then go back again.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to go back to, let's say, the 1920s, right? Even though I would like to go back to be on the cusp of the jazz scene. That'd be awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
Smoking weed with the Negroes and stuff. That'd be what? I mean, if I'm gonna go back, I've got to talk the talk, man. I mean, I can't be like, yeah, I'm hanging out with these fine black guys. What?
With these kind African American gentlemen.
Right. The Negroes. But I'm just saying that, it would be cool to be there, on the cusp of certain things, but they kind of be right there. But again, you can only go backwards, and there's no movies, there's no there's no air conditioning, that kind of stuff. Oh man, oh god, no.
Well, plus in your situation as a black person, it's a little bit more dangerous the further back you go. So
unless I go to Europe,
that's a thought.
Certain parts of Europe wouldn't be that bad. Might want to stay away from Germany depending on what year it was, but
geez.
I'm definitely not going to go to Papua New Guinea. I don't need to have myself eaten. Poor Rockefeller. Going back to certain places, and I wouldn't want to go back to London during certain times when the smog and air quality was so bad that people were dying.
Yeah.
So think about that. I'm yeah, there's certain places I want to kind of check out, but if I can't come back to my present day, then yeah, no. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to kind of what you were saying. I'm gonna go back. Let's say, I'm gonna do it like a test. I'm gonna go back, let's say 10, 15 years. Okay. And I'm going to become a mentor to my younger self. And I'm going to take with me my iPhone, right? Now, I'm not going to have any cell reception.
Yeah.
But I'll have my phone is going to have everything about so everything that's on my phone. So let's say, for example, I would I'm not going to be able to Google anything. But if the pictures on my phone, and kind of like a Back to the Future thing, I'll be able to see if they change. Mm-hmm. So if anything I do is going to affect, oh, well, now this picture I have with Acomi doesn't exist anymore, right? okay, so I've messed something up.
I'm glad I heeded my warnings and didn't hang out with that fucker.
All he ever did was get me in trouble, make me say racist stuff. You call? No, nobody called you racist, Bane.
That's what your third jump is going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
To go back to the filming of Dark Knight Rises. guys, hear me out. Hear me out.
I'm just gonna talk straight to like him and be like, hey, I've got an idea of where you want to take this character.
Now, don't say no right away. Just say, hear me out.
So
the plane door explodes in. Any Jews in here?
I think this might be a really good idea for you. But I'll just take a bunch of screen caps of different events.
Yeah.
So there'll be pictures on my phone, and then I'll be able to see if they change or how they change.
Nice. Right? Okay.
But I'll go back. I'm going to be a mentor to myself, but I'm going to start at they say maybe go back maybe 10 or so years.
Yeah.
And just kind of see how that works out. And then basically I'm going to kind of incept myself. And so I'm going to start off there.
I mean, it's you on you. It's not gay.
That's right. And then I'm going to go back a little bit further to kind of see, like, okay, how well did that work out? So now I'm going to go back a little bit further, and I'm just going to be like, okay, so I'm going to be a mentor to myself. Be like, okay, this is, just introduce myself. Like, okay, this is how you kind of need to like guide your future.
Yeah.
You can still be you, but let's take a stronger stance on this. Let's not, I think I've been kind of clear on this, and if I haven't been, this is probably the wrong time to really talk about it because I'm not going to have the opportunity to really get into it. But, let's take a different approach to like some of my prejudices of different things.
Right.
Where, as I've grown up, I've been like, oh, hey, that was kind of wrong of me, right? It's because I was completely ignorant of things. Right. And say like, oh man, that's horrible because this sounds even worse. Sounds like I'm trying to blame somebody, but society as a whole was like, this is bad, right?
Right.
And I don't have any. It's kind of like the thing with like and I hate to bring this back to like a racial thing, but you go to like a place in like any country or like another country or even like in America where there isn't like a large population of people from another race. So right. Their interaction with them is limited. And the only thing you know about them is what they see in the media, whether it's the news, no matter what news it is, right? Whether it's NPR or a local station or, a biased, like national station, right?
Yeah.
Or, what you see in movies and that kind of stuff. So they don't have they don't have any true view of them because they're not really interacting with people and getting to know them.
Right.
Because they don't have any people. It's just what you're being told by the place. And like, oh yeah, that's how I see things. So you're going back to myself and being like, hey, you know what? When you get older, you're going to have a little bit more perspective on this. This is not what you think it is, So,
Eskimos really aren't that crummy of a person. I give Eskimos a chance.
Yeah, what? Eskimos have like 1,000 different words for ice, but like only like 2 words for like I love you or something like that. So I'm like, yeah. And it's like, how many times really can you say ice when you live in ice? I mean, yeah, ice is around you every day, but you have all these different kind of words for it.
Yeah, ice scampi, ice gumbo.
Yeah, that's right.
Ice in a bowl, ice on a stick.
Fried ice, dry ice. That's about all the ice I can think of. Not quite ice yet. That's what they call water unfrozen ice. I'm kind of thirsty. You got any bottles that are unfrozen ice? Fucking Eskimos. Anyway, but like I said, just kind of guide myself and be like, oh, by the way, just work out. You pudgy little shit. take care. I mean, it's not that you don't have to go lift weights and stuff, like, like do some jumping jacks, ride a bike every once in a while. Lay off the sweets.
Read a book.
Yeah.
You're making us look like jerks.
I would think I would try to give my younger self a little bit more confidence and say, hey, you know what? I'm not saying that they're going to say yes, and I'm not saying that you probably won't get laughed at, right? But ask that girl out.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's really no worst that can happen. Okay, so she says, like, no. Or maybe she laughs at you. Other people laugh at you, right? That's not going to define your life. It's not like, you're going to be at a job interview somewhere and you're like, so, you're the guy! You're the guy! You're that guy! Oh, shit! Oh, no, we're not going to hire you. Like, just do it. I mean, just like, just do it! Just do it! And like I say, just kind of guide myself without straying too much. I know, obviously, that's going to change a lot of my decisions in the future.
Yeah.
But without straying too much from who I am and who I want to be, because there's a lot of things about myself currently that I do like. There's some things I don't like, but I wouldn't want to. If changing the things I don't like means losing some of the things I do like, then I guess I wouldn't do that. Which sounds really horrible, but like I said, the things that I like about myself, the things I like about myself, I'm either proud of those accomplishments, or proud of of who I am when it comes to like these ideas or like these viewpoints. So I don't want to lose that.
Right.
But I would like to like enhance other parts of myself without losing that. To try to become a better person. So see how well that works out. Now, that's the thing. If it doesn't work out, by going back further, I'm able to kind of prevent that.
Yeah.
Because now I'm going back before I ever did that, and then saying, okay, so now let's try to stop that. I can't stop my previous jump self, right? Time travel self, but I can at least say, okay, hey, let's try to. Those same principles that I worked on before, let's see if we can give them a little bit more context, or say, hey, we want to make these changes, but maybe not right now, or maybe we're going to do it a little more subtly, or who knows what. And then that's what I would do. I would just kind of go back and just try to guide my younger self and to make myself a better person.
Okay.
And now, because I wouldn't want to go back too far, because I wouldn't I don't want to live in, like, I wouldn't want to go back to the 70s. I have no interest in living in the 70s. I can't go back to the 80s because cocaine.
I was going to say, wouldn't you want to go back and do a bunch of cocaine?
Well, okay. Have we really talked about the whole coke thing before on the podcast?
Not on the podcast, but I think we have on the game bar.
Okay. So I hate the fact that we've got to touch on these things twice, because we've already, for people that are maybe watch both. But the thing with me and cocaine is I've never done any drugs. I have no interest in doing drugs. They hold no appeal to me at all. I'm a big advocate for legalizing marijuana for various reasons, whatever. Mm-hmm. But even if we're legalized, I don't plan on doing it. I mean, if that's something I was going to do, I'd do it now. I've got plenty of opportunity. I've got avenues. I know people that smoke, and it wouldn't be something stupid like walking down the street, like smoking or whatever, right? Smoking your home in certain designated places. But it doesn't appeal to me. So even if it were legal, it still wouldn't appeal to me any more than, like I'm an adult. I'm an adult. My dad's not a phone. But I don't go around drinking every night. I don't keep beer in my fridge.
Right.
It doesn't. I have a couple bottles of wine in my fridge, but that's because once you open it up, you got to put it in the fridge, and but. Actually, I was reading somewhere that once you open a bottle of wine, if you don't drink that within like a week, it doesn't keep well. Huh. So having a bottle of wine in your fridge or whatever for months on end or whatever just is not good. If you don't drink within a week, you really should just go ahead and just get rid of it.
Wow.
But anyway, so So I don't like say being adult now. I have the opportunity to drink a lot, but it doesn't. There's no real appeal to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it comes to cocaine, right? Cocaine just gives you that rush of energy. Now it does other bad things too, but you like, I want to work. I want to get things done. You know, I'll be up till 3:00 in the morning, just like, I'm working, baby. I'm getting some stuff done because I'm on coke. Which meant that if I was trying to work with my younger self, he's like, okay, hey, listen, it's like, all right, it's like, you're gonna go. You got to do this, man. You got to listen to me, you Turk. All right, it's like, this is what you want to do, okay, man. All right. Oh, gee, it's like, have you done this coke? Just take a little bump. Just a little baby bump, right? Just like here, there's like just a little bit off my fingernails. Yeah, you feel that, right? You feel that? Oh my God, we're gonna get so much stuff there. Okay, no, dude, all right, fuck it, just drop out of school right now. Me and you, I'm gonna take a life lesson. I'm gonna teach you right now. And it's like,
I like the you on coke. It's just basically Rick. Somebody, you're not gonna do it. What are you, some kind of pussy? That's it. You're just a little pussy. So somebody's getting laid in college.
Ooh, bleep, Papa Dirk. I don't think I would accomplish anything. I would just be doing a lot of coke, and just running around, you know, like in my underwear, like what's his name, Dewey Cox. So anyway. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't go back to the 80s. I really wouldn't get anything done, and I would just be listening to like all kinds of like new wave music, you know. Yeah, be like, hey, I'll hold up somewhere with like a gun, but like the commissar's coming. He's fucking coming. He's like, don't, he's behind you. Look, don't look around. All right. So I want to stay in an area where I felt okay. So I wouldn't want to go back past like maybe 1990, maybe 1992. Even though I would want to have some kind of influence, yeah, I think that'd be good. And then I could be like, all right, let's do this, you know. And maybe okay, I could do the late 80s.
There we go.
You know, right around the time that Guns N' Roses was coming out.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, I think I'd be good there. And then just kind of like I said, so first jump maybe 10, 15 years, and then take another jump, depending on how well that worked out, maybe 5 years past that, and then maybe like another 5 years or so, depending on what I needed to do. And just like I said, just guide myself. But I'm going to determine my second two jumps by how well the first jump works.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so, yeah, and the other thing is, you know, I'm gonna have to work with my younger self because we have the same name, and I'm going to be establishing a lot of stuff in his name. Yeah. So, like, I'm going to have to get a job. I'm going to have bank accounts and stuff. You know, and they're all going to be in his name. So we have to work together there.
Yeah. Unless this becomes like the Doppelganger podcast and you just decide to kill yourself.
Yeah, no, because that wouldn't be. Oh, you mean like him killing me?
Yeah, I know that's totally on the table.
Yeah, that is true.
Because I mean, you got to think about that. Like, if the door opened and future you walked in right now, it's like, I'm you from the future. You wouldn't go with that, and you wouldn't want you to train you either. You'd be like, fuck this.
Okay, if me from the future came back, it would depend on like if he came through and he was like 100 pounds heavier. And he's like, I'm here to tell you to get your life straight. Like, I am all ears. But like, call me. I'm sorry. This is the last podcast we're doing. I got to go work out. But like, next thing you know, you're the best around. No one's gonna ever keep you down. Hearts on fire.
It's like future you comes in and it's just like this fat, hairy white guy, and he's like, "Oh God, you gotta change. I'm you in 15 years." It's like, "Oh no."
He's like, Turk, it's your kids, Turk. He's like, they dyed me this color.
They slapped the black right out of me.
You see Bubba Hotep, right?
Not yet. No.
Oh,
dude, that's been on my list for so long.
Well, you know the story of Ozzie Davis.
Nah.
So in Bubba Hotep, Ozzie Davis is a black guy. Plays John F. Kennedy, who's still alive. Who like they faked his death and like dyed him black.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, he and Elvis, played by Bruce Campbell, team up to stop the zombie. I mean, the mummy Bubba Hotep, who was preying upon the people in the retirement home.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Bubba
I mean,
Hotep.
like I knew the premise. I'm really interested in seeing it. I just haven't had time. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I was just because I just edited the Doppelganger podcast recently. At the time of this recording, so I thought about your answer to that, and I thought about that time you told me about dreaming about your mom acting weird, and so you just drop kicked her down a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So I picture your interactions with your future self not going super well.
I told that story on the board game.
Yeah.
The board game channel with Jo and Zold, and we were I think it was the one we were playing Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay,
And
nice.
Whose turn is it? So in the whose turn is it video, and I told that story because there was a thing on NPR about this story. I'll let you guys watch that for yourselves, but I was telling them the thing about me, drop kicking my mom because of that dream. And if my future self came in and was like, hey, I got to tell you some things or whatever, I'd be like, okay, I would be like, all right, yeah, let's see what's going on. What do I need to do? What do I need to change? Because apparently he didn't go back like real far. So I guess everything up to this point I've done okay. It's just what I do after this.
Right.
Just don't record any more podcasts. Trust me, it's not good.
Acomi wants to show you something called Mike and Melissa. Don't do it.
Dude, you're too late. We've already done that one.
Fuck! I only have 2 jumps left. Man.
So, but yeah, I think that's what I would do, and I would, and I think the thing I hate is that by going back like that, I have to sit through certain things again.
Oh yeah.
But I think the hard part about that would be that certain events are happening, and they're coming up, and you can't do anything to prevent it.
Yeah.
And you're just, but at the same time though, knowing that they're coming up, you would be able to approach them from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So let's say, because I recently listened to the Disgraceland podcast, and their first one for season 3 was a 2-parter on NWA, and they talk about the whole Rodney King thing and the LA riots and all that kind of stuff. So knowing those are coming up, and I'm picking this as opposed to another event because that's too much. It's way too heavy. So I'm picking this because a lot more time has passed, and I think it's easy, it's more digestible, and it didn't affect everyone as a whole, as opposed to other events that affected a broader range of people.
Right.
So the LA riots, and now, like I said, knowing it's coming up and being able to kind of sit back and not be caught up in everything at the time. I'm not choosing a side or perspective, and now I can just see everyone else and how they react to it as a somewhat neutral party, because it's my head, my emotions, everything are clearer now.
Yeah.
Now I wasn't really swept up in it, but I can look at it now objectively, or look at everyone involved objectively as they digest it. And so getting some new perspective on those would be good, but at the same time, I do have to live through those things again. Because even though I'm getting a new perspective on it, it doesn't change the interaction I'm going to have with people who are going through it at the time.
Right.
Which then may cause some problems, because I will be so much more level-headed about it.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, why are you not outraged on one way or the other? Why are you not grieving? Why are you not taking a stance? What's wrong with you? What are you, some kind of robot? And, so that, that could be problematic. But, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
And I think that would also give me the opportunity to kind of like, write, to maybe be able to write a something about it, be like, hey, revisiting this at the time it's going on, and it's like, here's a very open, non-biased viewpoint of everything, and it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's what I would do. Like I say, if I could just travel back in time, like if it was like, hey, you got a time machine, you go visit these places, then come back, and you got like a ticket for three passes. I'd go to different places, but if only thing I can do is just travel backwards, then yeah, I think that's what I would do, and hopefully try to make things a little bit better, different for myself, to where I'm a better person.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then just kind of see how it plays out. And I think with me making myself a better person, obviously I can't erase myself from the future by like, hey, I never created the time machine thing, because obviously if that happens, then I'll never become a mentor, which would then basically just reset everything back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they ever talk about it in like any kind of time travel movies, where like when you eliminate your future self, right, then your future self never went back and changed these things, which meant that none of those events that you just changed ever happened.
Yeah.
So it just resets.
Yeah.
Which would in that case be kind of like funny. Oh man, okay, so sorry, I'm like deviating again like I always do. Is if like you had a time machine, you go back and you just fuck with time, right?
Oh yeah, the time ruiner.
Right, but whatever you do, you have to make sure that it eliminates your future self, so that everything resets.
That is a thought, yeah.
Except for the one time that it doesn't.
You're
and
right.
then you're like, shit.
Then you've got just that Simpsons Treehouse of Horror thing where it's like, I gotta fix everything.
Oh, look, it's raining again. Stupid bug, you go squish now. All right. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, so this was an interesting one. I think it's interesting we both have two very, very different approaches to how we would want to handle this. So, yeah, I like this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. Like you want to change your current self.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in changing my past self.
Yeah, you see, like, I thought about that, but there's just so much that I could see going wrong with it. Because, like, there's a lot about my past that I don't like. But then I think about, like, if certain things hadn't happened, then people who were very, very important to me and important in my life wouldn't have been in the picture.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're part of that for sure, where it's like, if I hadn't been, if situation A, B, and C hadn't happened to me, then...
I promise someone wasn't gonna cry.
if A, B, and C hadn't happened to me, like, the people who are my closest friends now would not be my friends. Like, you've heard me speak very ill of my first job, yes. And I feel like that was 6 years very wasted, but it's like, that's directly tied into to my friendship with Wesley and Overton. It's directly tied into my friendship with Grace. It's very closely connected to my friendship with you and Davis and Horton. So it's like, yeah, I wish that, like, I wish that hadn't been 6 years of my life gone, but if I go back and change that, then, there goes the only people who are my friends now.
Right.
So, it's like, I can't imagine things really being better without that. So, yeah, I'd much rather just change my current situation and go live in the 80s.
And that's why I wanted to be like cognizant of what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose these things.
Yeah. Well, and like, I totally get that, but I can just really easily see, like, it's like, oh yeah, so training my past self is gone. Well, let's see. Oh, it's 2010. Hey, have you met this guy Acomi yet? And it's like, who? It's like, oh shit, what went wrong? Oh no, what went wrong?
What did I do?
So yeah, but yeah, so that's our answers. Everybody probably thinks a lot less of me now, but everybody who's been on this channel for any length of time already knows about the anarchy thing, so they can't think too much less of me.
I don't think anything less of you. I just wish he hadn't died of dysentery, but
I did it for the lulz. Put that on my tombstone. He died for the meme.
well, I will say this though, right? Since you are going to go back to the Boston Tea Party, right?
Yeah.
Just tell Crispus Attucks I said what's up.
All right, sure.
Well, we talked before. We talked on the gaming channel about Crispus Attucks, you know, which I think is like the only time in history, in American history, that people were that the death of a black man outraged people enough that they went to war.
Yeah. We have talked about that.
So, yeah. So, which I don't think he gets enough. Like when it's like, hey, it's Black History Month. Let's talk about Martin Luther King Jr. and George Washington Carver, the guy that killed George Washington, and
and assimilated him.
I love that Simpsons joke. Who was George Washington Carver? The man that chopped up George Washington. But they never mention Crispus Attucks.
Yeah.
You know? So, which I mean, I don't really understand how you get a name like Crispix, which sounds like a cereal by Nabisco.
It does, yeah.
That
sounds like really good.
That's actually Crispix, which Crispix are good. But anyway, I don't even know if they still make them. But anyway, so just tell them I said what's up.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, and fight the power.
Provided I don't die of dysentery before I get to it. It's like, yes, it's all in place. Everything's going gurgle. Oh, that doesn't feel good, gurgle. Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening. This was a fun one. I think we need to do more hypotheticals.
Yeah, I like that. I just have one more question.
Okay.
You know when you're gonna go overseas and you have to get inoculations?
Mm-hmm.
What if you're gonna travel into the past? What kind of inoculations do you need to have? Because right now, I'm not gonna catch polio, right?
Right.
Because I'm and that kind of stuff. But what am I gonna take back there?
Right.
That they don't have an immunity to already.
Space AIDS.
Blam blam out. But no, I'm saying, what is it that we have nowadays that it's not a problem to me, but because I have a tolerance to it or whatever that I'm going to take back to them. It's going to be like, oh, that's deadly.
Yeah. Oof. That's one that would be like a long conversation with a doctor.
So, Doc, thinking about going back in time. And
hypothetically, of course. All right, well. Okay, well, thanks again, everybody. Let us know what you think of our answers, and hey, we'd love to hear what other people would do, because I think that could get interesting. I think there's a lot of answers you could give for this.
Oh yeah. And I think a lot of people probably think more. They would think more in the now, but I would go back to 4 years ago and do this or whatever. It's like, okay,
I guarantee that 90% of the people you ask now would say they'd want to go back and kill Trump.
Oh no, kill is such a harsh thing.
Yeah, I think you'd get an even split of people who want to go back and kill Trump versus people who want to go back and kill Hitler.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the worst, the hardest decisions to make, right?
Mm-hmm. Is
to say, I want to go back in time to kill Hitler, because obviously you want to do that, but then all the advances that we made after that
mm-hmm.
unfortunately came from that.
Oh yeah.
You lose all that stuff, and it's like, what would the future be?
Oh yeah.
It's horrible, because you really want to say, I want to save all these people, but that also means that we're going to lose a lot of stuff. Everyone wants to denounce Operation Paperclip, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People don't think much about consequences.
Yeah. So I completely agree. It's wrong, and I wish it hadn't happened. But we live in the present day where everything we have was influenced by those events.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to disassociate ourselves from it, because I'm a product of all of that.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah. So going back in time and changing major events is going to have a serious, repercussions on the future / present.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and you don't know what it's going to do. So it's really such a hard moral dilemma.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think we both kind of strayed away from it. So
yeah.
All
Plus,
right.
I mean, I don't. I know it sounds really bad. It's like, hey, we want you to. Would you go back and like convince him not to drop the bomb on on Hiroshima? Yeah, but God, I don't want to live through the 60s. That's so freaking boring. Oh my God. And I freaking hate hippie music,
Yeah, but hey, in the 60s, you get that sweet spot of like catching the Stones when they're first getting started.
I'm not going to Altamont though.
Well. Okay, well, I think it's about time for us to wrap this one up. We went a little bit over, but that's okay. It was worth it. This was some very enlightening conversation.
This is our podcast. I do what the fuck I want. go over, go under. Shit, if the next one I want to do like 5 minutes, but like, yo, let's just Turk 182. I'm fucking done. Bye. And I'll do it.
Get money.
That's right. It's my philosophy. Life ain't nothing but bitches and money.
Can we do a 5-minute episode next time?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. We'll just bounce it out. We ran long in the last one, so we're gonna run really short on this one. Just let's go back to back.
Okay. Well. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Zang, yo.
All right there, folks. That was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.